Zimbabwe's Finance Minister, Professor Mthuli Ncube, has unveiled a $276.4 billion ZiG dollar national budget for 2025, focusing on economic resilience and achieving upper middle income status by the year 2030. Despite challenges such as exchange rate volatility, inflation, and declining global commodity prices, the government remains committed to its national development strategy. And of course, he forecasts GDP growth of about 2.2% in 2024 and 6% in 2025, driven by investments in agriculture, energy, and infrastructure. But the citizens are heavily criticizing the budget and the impact it would have on them and businesses. Dr. Prosper Chitambara, development economist, joins me to unpack this. Dr. Chitambara, thank you so much for joining us. So what is your assessment of the national budget presented by the Finance Minister?
Well, thank you so much for having me. So I would first and foremost say the framework of the budget itself has not changed much from the past budgets that we've had. The bulk of the resources, the lion's share of the resources have been allocated to the two education ministries. That's the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education and also the Ministry of Higher Education. They've received more than almost about 21% of the total allocation. Then the second highest allocation went to the Ministry of Health, because the concern there has been the fact that we have failed to meet the Abuja target or benchmark of 15% towards healthcare. The minister allocated, actually it's 28.2 billion ZiG, which is equivalent to about 10.2% of the total budget. But of course, we're also mindful of the fact that the minister this year actually introduced a sugar tax, which has successfully mobilized quite significant resources that are meant to finance the fight against non-communicable diseases. But of course, most people are not happy that even in spite of that, the health situation in Zimbabwe continues to experience a huge crisis. We are experiencing, for example, the out-migration of key health professionals. Most of our public hospitals don't have the critical medicines. So I think it's really a whole lot of issues, and we are relying extensively on donors to finance a significant portion of not just of our healthcare, but also even of education, social protection, as well as water and sanitation. The minister has also introduced a number of new taxes, the first one being the tax on betting, withholding tax, 10% withholding tax on betting, the proceeds from betting. The minister has also introduced a plastic tax on plastic carrier bags of about 20%. The minister has also introduced a tax on fast foods, a fast food tax, which is equivalent to 0.5% of the price of the selected fast foods. So our hope and expectation is that the proceeds from the fast foods tax should go towards financing healthcare, since the consumption of fast foods is one of the biggest risk factors for non-communicable diseases.
Oh, but then,
the minister is,
but Dr. Chitambara, looking at the taxes and the budgets and how it affects people, citizens are saying that the budget is anti-people, it's anti-productive, it's anti-progressive. And don't you see that way, looking at the fact that it does not properly address, payments to teachers? You've talked about health and partially education, but in terms of how it helps to improve the remuneration for teachers and the fact that it seems as though it is overtaxing informal businesses. Don't you think it is, not really affecting positively the economy, so to speak?
That's been one of the major concerns from a number of observers, from a number of citizens, that what the budget has actually done is to increase the already very, very high tax burden that is actually being borne by not just the businesses, but also even by the citizens, the ordinary citizens. In fact, a few weeks back, the Chamber of Mines did a study to calculate the effective tax rate for the mining sector in Zimbabwe, and they actually came up with a figure of 69%. So one of the key expectations, especially for the mining sector, was that the minister was going to adjust the tax burden within the mining sector as a way of bringing a bit of relief to that sector. But of course, it's not just the mining sector. Most sectors of our economy are actually affected by that huge tax burden. So the budget has not really addressed that. So most people are feeling that probably the budget, the proposals, these are still proposals, of course, falls short of the expectations of the key stakeholders in the Zimbabwean economy.
So while we see that this budget probably would help in raising the funds to pay white farmers, a few people are also concerned about how that will help the country get out of its $21 billion debt. We know that Zimbabwe is in debt distress, so to speak. So when you look at the make of that budget, how do you think it would help the country get out of its debt burden or probably reduce it?
Yeah. No, the debt crisis is a major issue, and I don't think that we are going to come out of this crisis in the foreseeable future. I think it's something that's going to be with us for a very long time to come, because as long as the economy is not growing fast enough and at a more sustained pace, then it means we are not creating or generating wealth and income that we can then use to defray the debt. So I think that's been the major concern. When you look at our average growth rate over the past 10 years, we've averaged about just 2.5%, just under 2.5% on average per annum. And that's grossly inadequate to ensure debt sustainability, but also to ensure that we achieve the vision of being an upper middle income economy by 2030. So the issue of debt, yes, of course, government is trying to make some token payments to the key creditors, including the former white farmers. But it's a challenge that can't be solved in the foreseeable future, especially as long as the economy is not growing more sustainably.
And that probably means, you know, the 6% projection for 2025 might not be realizable. But then, well, who knows?
So it's really based on a successful agricultural season.
Yeah, I
which
understand.
may not be the case.
Okay, Dr. Prosper Chitambara, development economist, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me.